Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Tuesday, September 19th. So today we do have the moon in Scorpio all day, so we're definitely in our feels. Things are very intense, very passionate, hopefully on the side of excitement and inspiration, more so than anger and frustration. However, both very powerful fuels for change, for transformation, which of course is what Scorpio energy is all about. Now, we're still in detective mode. We're still trying to peel back the layers of truth, if you will. We have a lot of questions. We're seeking a lot of answers and information, and we're really reliant on the subtle energies, on our intuition, on kind of reading between the lines, so to speak. So there's definitely a lot coming up. We're unearthing a lot of very interesting details about ourselves, about the path, the plan moving forward, about some blocks, some challenges, and really putting into a different perspective what it is that we're moving away from, what it is that we're moving closer to. Now, let me just say, today is going to be a little bit of a bumpy day in our inner realm. We have to be careful, very cautious that we aren't jumping to conclusions because confusion is very high. Misjudgments are definitely going to be a thing. We do have a lot to learn, especially about ourselves and the plans that we have for ourselves and moving forward. But those realizations will likely come out of aha moments of disappointment, of not really feeling so hot, not really feeling content, not really feeling so satisfied. So this is going to be an interesting day of emotional refinement, and we just want to make sure that we're not reacting out of our egoic selves, and instead that we step back, we take a pause, we act as the observer, so that we don't cast projections and quick judgment calls on people, situations that eventually will show us that we're wrong. So we're going to want to bite our tongue. This is one of these situations where you may feel very strongly about something. You may feel like you're right, but it's better to step back, keep that information to yourself instead of looking for validation, confirmation from other people that you're right. Sometimes it's better just to be right, off to the side, keep it to yourself so that we're not rocking the boat, so to speak. Now, Tuesdays are ruled over by Mars. Mars is the god of war, ruling over physical energy, drive, passion, desire, even anger. He's in Libran energy, highly indecisive. He's stuck in the intellectual battlefield. He's having to kind of charm and intellectualize his way in and out of situations and circumstances. So let's just be very, very cautiously aware that impulse and urge, especially to speak out, to cast judgment, to accuse, will be very high, but we do not want to do that. All right, that's your warning. So there are 9 different aspects here today, 7 of them going to involve the moon. The moon in Scorpio going to make a positive interaction with Mars, who rules over Scorpio energy, who again, like I mentioned, is in Libran energy. So what we're getting here, and again, I'll give you 2 sides of the coin here because that's what we do in Libran energy. The 2 sides of the coin. The first side is that maybe we are intensely emotionally triggered and activated to be motivated and inspired and determined in order to see something through, to initiate something new, to really kind of lean towards one path, one decision, one direction over the other. Or it could come out as an intense passion due to anger, frustration, rage, so to speak. Again, 2 sides of that Mars energy. We're really hoping to be excited and inspired and passionate about good things. However, like I previously mentioned, sometimes anger, frustration, and rage is a powerful fuel for change, for transformation. So we're definitely going to have an illumination, if you will, on where our energy needs to be directed. The moon in Scorpio going to sit across from, directly oppose Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. The Scorpio energy, Taurus energy, they sit across from each other in the zodiac wheel. We're definitely going to have some big feels because Jupiter, of course, he's a little bit dramatic. We have a tendency to over-exaggerate our sense of self, our goals, our thoughts, our feelings, with Jupiter kind of off into the side, if you will. Now, he's retrograde, which means that there's a lot of looking back, a lot of reflection, a lot of review, a lot of reevaluation in a fixed earth sign, Taurus. which has a lot to do with our current realm, our physical body, our current circumstances, where routines, relationships, money matters, long-term goals are concerned. Now, this is going to put us at odds with what it is that we believe to be true. Now, again, we are going through a particular energy, a particular chapter right now where we're trying to dissolve the old belief system because, of course, we're realizing at this point that it's just creating challenges and obstacles and blockages from us actually moving forward. But right now, we're going to be at odds with the way that we think, with the way that we feel. It's going to be over-exaggerated. There's going to be urge and intensities to want to kind of spill our guts to get some things off of our chest. But let me just say, we do not have the clarity, information, details to articulate ourselves properly, let alone paint an accurate picture. So we are going to have to resist the temptation of kind of sharing, especially oversharing, a lot of our thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions at this particular point in time. So the sun in Virgo energy is going to sit across from, directly oppose Neptune, who is in his place of power in this Pisces energy, but he's retrograde. This is the annual opposition that the sun and Neptune will take. And of course, we have the sun in Virgo energy that sits across from the Piscean energy. So we've been waiting all year for this, essentially. Now, I would love to say that this is a good energy. However, it's not going to be. What this is going to do is really highlight what it is that we're actually confused about. And many of us are confused about the path, the direction that we're supposed to be taking from here. This is going to put us in a situation where we really don't want to deal with life. We don't want to deal with reality. We want to curl up in a ball and live in la la land because we don't have to be as accountable and as responsible as we need to be in real life for making some of the changes and transformations that we know that we need to make, that we don't have the energy to make right now. This is I'm going to say, a very interesting perspective of self. We're going to realize where it is that we're running away from things. We're going to realize where it is that we're low on willpower, where we're tired, where we don't necessarily feel prepared or highly equipped to be strong and stable and forthcoming enough to actually initiate the changes and transformations that we need to be making at this particular point in time. What we do need is to stop worrying about other people and start worrying more about ourselves. What we need to start doing is realizing that we're lacking energy in our soul, in our spirit. What we need to be doing is realizing where it is that we have been essentially creating delusions for ourselves, putting other people's wants, needs, and desires on a higher pedestal than our own. Really where it is that we've been trying to convince ourselves that everything is okay or that everything isn't okay. There's a lot of delusion and confusion taking place with this particular interaction. What I think we need to kind of just understand is that many of us are going to want to escape, if you will. We don't want to be who it is that we currently are. We don't want to have to deal with the situations that we're currently dealing with. We don't want to have to make the decisions, the choices that we're currently being pressurized to make. And therefore, the escapism that comes naturally with Piscean energy is going to be very intense. Now, what we need to do is we need to kind of step back and act as the observer and realize where it is that we need a little bit more stability, a better grounding point, a little bit more balance, if you will, between reflecting on the past, the choices, the decisions that got us here, and taking action to clean up the mess in which we've already identified. We're still in Virgo season. So the whole point is to identify what is broken, what isn't working, what we no longer want to experience in order to fix it, repair it, heal it, create something better in its place. So this is something that is going to take us on an inward journey, if you will. We're hypersensitive, we're highly emotional, we're feeling a little bit real and raw and vulnerable. And we have a lot of confusion, and our perceptions of trying to make sense of things outside of us isn't the best. And this is why I say that, judgments are likely going to be wrong. This is why we have to prevent ourselves from calling things out as we see it, because we're not seeing it clearly. We're not seeing it in the actual factual truth of the matter. We have a tainted perception of it. So we better save ourselves a little bit of drama here by not speaking on it. Instead, just sit back and kind of pay attention to the hints and the clues. We want to make sure that we understand that we are going to be low on willpower, low on F's to give. We don't want to beat ourselves up about it. Rest is a very important part of the building and creating process. And this is going to be one of those times where it is better to step back and rest than it is to beat ourselves up and force ourselves to take action to make a move, all for the sake of quote unquote progress, when a plan hasn't been yet strategized as of yet. So this is going to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer type of vibe, but it is absolutely necessary for the revelations that are going to come out of it. Many about who it is that we are, what it is that we're afraid of, and what is actually stopping us from kind of clearing up these fear-based narratives so that we can actually move forward. Now, shortly thereafter, the moon in Scorpio is going to make a positive interaction with Pluto. Pluto rules over the Scorpio energy, and Pluto is currently retrograde in Capricorn energy. And this is going to be a very good aspect for us to realize what we have to dismantle, what we have the opportunity to choose for ourselves, to take control over, to boost ourselves up, to boss up, to understand where it is that we can use some of the not so nice situations and circumstances right now to fuel our empowerment journey. So this is an aha moment, if you will, on where it is that we need to change the narrative, change the emotion, change the perspective, change the understanding, and put ourselves in more of an empowerment situation and position than to be kind of left feeling the pain, the trauma, the victimhood, if you will, that is preventing many of us from actually bossing up and taking action, taking the steps to move forward, to break away from the old. Now, the moon in Scorpio, going to get in the boxing ring, square off with Venus. Venus is the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money, still in her post-retrograde shadow period, but she is in Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac. There has been a major change of heart, but now we're confused about it. The moon interacting with Venus in this way is fighting it out for the emotions that we actually want to stand in. So here's the thing. The moon in Scorpio wants us to have a major change in our emotions, because the minute that you can change your emotion, the minute you can flip the script, the minute you can put yourself in a more powerful position than the one that you're currently in. Venus, who has had a change of heart, who is almost at the point, on the cusp, at the precipice, to have to put hands on in her physical realm to rearrange, restructure what it is that she's already resolved within herself that needs to change. Again, who and what needs to stay, needs to go, all according to adding to the happiness, the safety, security, stability of life, or lack thereof. But Venus isn't ready to take action. So we have this intense emotion pushing us to do what we got to do, but we have to resist it because we're not in the time or the place to make the kind of changes that we know that we have to make. And so we're fighting it out right now. It's a battle of the heart space on what it is that we know to be true, what it is that we have to bring to life, but what we're not yet ready for. Now, the moon is going to interact with Chiron, the wounded healer, who is retrograde in Aries energy in not the nicest way. This is where we're struggling with this current version of self. Again, old self is dying off. New self hasn't anchored in yet. If you haven't listened to this week's Ascension forecast, I'm going to recommend you do so, because I go on a rant on how this week is the week where we're kind of in the final level of the video game, where we have to beat the boss in order to see whether or not we're going to jump to the next level, again with the equinox energy, or whether we're going to have to repeat certain life lessons and stay on this current timeline. This has to do with unpacking, unearthing the shadow parts that are still alive and well within us, that's keeping that old self in power, in charge. Now, the Chiron energy being retrograde takes us on an inner journey to identify the problem, gives us the warrior spirit to tackle it, to fix it, to heal it, to repair it. But we have to become aware of what the problem actually is. The moon is going to go ahead and interact with Mercury in a very positive way. We love this. Mercury, who is the ruler of our mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, in his place of power in Virgo energy. Yes, still post retrograde shadow period, so there is some confusion and some uncertainties there. However, the moon is our heart space, Mercury is our head space. They're interacting very well. Scorpio energy, Virgo energy works very well because the Virgo energy goes into the mental plane, focuses in on the smaller little details of our habits, of our narrative, of of our looping thoughts, of our memories. The Scorpio energy has the balls, the kahunas, if you will, to do a deep dive in the shadow parts, the darkest parts of self, to understand that that is where the power lies, even though we tend to think that that is where our weakness lies. There's a lot of strength, a lot of power, a lot of control that we can gain if we flip the rocks of the shadow parts of self over. So the moon and Mercury, they're working together. They're on the same page. We have an aha moment. We have an epiphany. Suddenly we can see the smaller details of what it is that we've been focused on, what it is that we've been allowing in our mental plane that hasn't been really supporting this change, this transformation of our emotions, of our perspective, of our understanding of ourselves, essentially. So this is a good vibe, and it happens at a great time because Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, who is not very happy in this Libran energy, is going to make a very uncomfortable interaction with Jupiter, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. What this is going to do is highlight our restlessness, highlight our discontent, highlight where it is that we don't feel on the same page, we don't feel in alignment, where we're having a hard time aligning with our higher selves, where we're not really sure on what to do. This is going to highlight our indecision, highlight the anxiety, the restlessness, the anticipation that we got going on here. We have to fight the urge and the impulse to take action, to make moves, to speak on some of the things that we want to speak on, because again, we do not have it right. We think we're saying it right. We think we're understanding it correctly. We are not. There is a blanket, a veil of confusion and delusion still covering the truth. And therefore, if you speak out, if you act on impulse, if you take those urges and you actually do something with them, you are going to create a little bit of a mess that will eventually have to be cleaned up long before you actually get to digging and to seeing the progress in moving forward. So yeah, this isn't going to feel good. Jupiter's involved. He's going to magnify. He's going to turn the volume all the way up on the restlessness, on the discontentment, on the just feeling like we're out of this world. We're out of sync. And again, listen to the ascension forecast. We talked about the time warp that we're in this week. This is going to be one of those situations and scenarios where we're definitely going to feel like we are in a totally different realm and reality, and we're not sure how we feel about it. The last thing that we got going on here today is the moon in Scorpio sitting across from, directly opposing Uranus, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. Again, Scorpio, Taurus energy, they sit across from each other in the zodiac wheel. They represent the give and take, the death, the rebirth, the destruction, the creation that we're constantly going through, especially in our inner realm where emotions are concerned. And of course, when we kind of change up our emotions, we can change up our perspective, we can change up the narrative, we have the ability to transform our inner realm. And of course, that is the first step, the first key to changing our outer realm. This particular interaction definitely going to bring a lot of anxiety, a lot of electricity into the physical body. This is definitely going to put us in a situation where we have the ability to kind of pluck out aha moments, epiphanies, if you will, where it is that we are, quote unquote, receiving shocking, disrupting aha moments and epiphanies that will forever change the way that we think, let alone the way that we see certain situations that have already unfolded. Now, this could be the lightning bolt of change that we need in order to break away from the old funk that we've been sitting in and really embody where it is that a new mood, a new attitude, a new perspective, a new understanding is needed in order to continue to build the new framework, the new structure, the new foundation of who it is that we are, what it is that we believe, what it is that we deserve, and what it is that we're trying to manifest. But it is going to bring on a lot of, I'm going to say, not so nice emotions. It's not going to feel stable. It's going to feel very jolty, very electric-like. There's a lot of frequencies, a lot of vibrations coming in order to illuminate where it is that we're holding on too tightly to the old, but yet praying for the new. And again, you'll hear me often say, you can't just hold on to the old and wait for something new to show up before you release the old. You have to give the sign, the validation, the confirmation of the universe that you trust the process. Therefore, letting go of the old, creating the space for the new to enter in, and the universe will deliver it once you've actually cleaned the slate, given the space, and trust the process that you will be gifted with something better than what it is that you're currently letting go of.